The BMW 3 Series has a reputation dating back to the 1970s that few other cars can compete with. In its first 4 generations that spanned nearly 30 years, the BMW 3 Series was the undisputed king of its segment. As competitors started to catch up to the 3 Series, offering a similar blend of luxury and performance, it seemed as though BMW had lost their way, making the 3 Series less driver-focused. Now, in its 7th generation, the 3 Series is putting up a very strong defense to its crown. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the range-topping M340i to see if the BMW 3 Series is once again the undisputed king of its segment. The BMW 3 Series created the compact luxury sports sedan segment in 1975. Through the next 3 generations, automotive journalists the world over decreed the 3 Series as the benchmark of that segment. Competition was fierce from brands like Mercedes, Audi, and Lexus, but none of their cars could hold a candle to the 3 Series as a complete package. There were a lot of expectations for the 5th generation 3 Series, but by the end of its run, for the first time, the 3 Series found itself in a battle for supremacy. Competition had caught up to, and in some cases surpassed the 3 Series. Mercedes had more enjoyable engines, Audi had more luxurious interiors, and even Cadillac, who found itself in the game with the ATS, was more fun to drive. Not much changed with the 6th generation 3 Series. In fact, it seemed as though BMW was doubling down on attributes that both consumers and journalists disliked about the 3 Series. The steering was numb, the styling was becoming stale, and the ultimate driving machine had pretty much become a run-of-the-mill luxury car. That created a lot of excitement as the new 7th generation 3 Series was set to arrive in 2019. Would BMW turn back time and make a car that was again fun to drive and good-looking with impeccable fit and finish? Had they once again created the leader of its segment? I can't honestly answer the latter question as I haven't had a chance to spend much time with the 3 Series' closest competitors, the B9 Audi A4 and the W205 Mercedes C-Class. But what I can say is this: the time I spent with the latest 3 Series in M340i xDrive trim made me a true believer that BMW, when developing the G23 series, was serious about building the quintessential luxury sports sedan. Sure, there are some things that can be better, but overall, the M340i xDrive is one bad mother. First, let's start with the styling. So, here it is, the grille. Anyone who has been following the progression of BMW's kidney grille is aware that the company seems to be obsessed with making their grilles larger and more piggy looking. Compared to other models in BMW's lineup, like the 7 Series and the newly revealed 4 Series, the 3 Series has been spared the oversized nose ridiculousness. But it still could use a bit of improvement. From the factory, the M340i's grille gets a unique mesh waterfall design. It's finished in what BMW calls cerium gray. The design is striking but not necessarily good looking. On our car, that grille has been replaced with a black grille that has vertical lines. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so we will let you be the judge. The grille is also functional in that it has flaps that open and close depending on the cooling needs. They can remain closed during cold starts to help the car get up to operating temperature quicker by reducing the amount of air flowing up front. It also helps the car be more aerodynamic. But when more cooling is needed, the flaps will swing open. Again, an interesting but at least functional styling choice. And just to make sure everyone is paying attention to the nose, the 3 Series has 4 distinct character lines on its hood that point directly at the grille. Yes, folks, this is in fact a BMW. Below the grille are large angular air intakes and functional air vents, which are also coated in cerium gray. The G20 strays a bit from BMW's traditional halo headlights and now has 4 crescents, or half halos if you will. Each of the lights have little notches that rise up from the bumper into the headlight housing. The lighting is full LED. Optional LED laser lights are also available. I like the look of the lights, but the BMW faithful may have a problem with the lack of halos. The rear is also full LED, with a large smoked out L-shaped bar and smaller LED strips above and below. From the side, you can get a good look at the M340i's sculpted muscular body. While I hate the idea of attributing gender to inanimate objects, the 3 Series is certainly alive and very masculine. There's a character line that runs from the headlight to the mirror on the side of the hood. Directly below that is a line that runs from the front wheel and down the side just past the Hofmeister kink. A line that runs from the rear door handle to the taillight helps accent the swollen rear wheel arch, and there's a strong line that forms a side sill underneath the doors. All the lines come together to make it look chiseled, strong, and aggressive. Like the factory front grille, the mirror caps come in cerium gray. Unfortunately, the finish doesn't like moisture, and the result is plenty of water spots and smudges. To make sure it wasn't just our car, we checked another M340i, and it too had the same issue. For those who like a very clean car, the mirrors will be a pain to maintain. This car is equipped with the standard 18-inch wheels. They come wrapped in 225/45 all-season run-flat tires, front and rear. BMW offers a number of different wheel and tire options, from all-season run-flats to performance run-flats. If you want performance non-run-flat tires, you have to step up to the 19-inch wheels. There are a few different options, including these M double-spoke wheels in cerium gray. Unlike the mirrors, I do like the cerium gray on the wheels. The 18s aren't bad, but the 19-inch wheels are worth the $600 upgrade. Behind the wheels, you can get a peek at the M Sport brakes, denoted by blue painted calipers with M badging. 348mm disc with 4-piston calipers are up front. 345mm disc with single piston calipers are in the rear. This car also has auto leveling center caps, so as your wheels are spinning, it can remain clear you are in a BMW. Out back, the M340i maintains its aggressive look and has a hunkered down stance. If I'm being honest, I do see a lot of Genesis G70 in the rear. That's not a bad thing because I do like the way the Genesis looks. The M340i falls into the trend of fake vents with these accents next to the exhaust. The exhausts have a trapezoidal design and are finished in cerium gray. Speaking of exhaust, let's hear a quick cold start. More of that later. The badging is also in cerium gray. It's a color that BMW has fallen in love with. The trunk lid is lined with a very thin lip spoiler. Getting into the M340i can be done using the key you see here. It's very sturdy, contains a physical key, and on the side it has the M division colors. Pressing the BMW button 3 times activates the remote start. The car also has proximity open and close. When you walk up to it, it automatically unlocks. The same happens when you walk away, it automatically secures. Alright, hopping into the BMW M340i xDrive, and I'm happy to report that BMW is sticking with physical buttons. No, I kid, but anyone that's watched any of my reviews know that I prefer physical buttons over a lot of the touchscreens that everyone is going with these days. In this interior is typical BMW, very high quality, very good fit and finish. It is a little interesting though because there are quite a bit of hard plastics in some common touch areas, particularly down here at the door jambs, here in the center dash. It's not to say that the interior is not well made, it's just that there are quite a bit of hard plastics that you probably won't get on some more upper level BMWs. Again, the fit and finish, the quality, I mean, all of this is very sturdy, there's no squeaking and cracking, and the leather is ultra soft. It certainly feels good when you're placing your arm there. So everything is really well put together. BMW has found a nice blend of physical buttons and screens. The center dash has a large 10.25-inch digital touchscreen that runs BMW's new iDrive 7 operating system. It responds very well to touch inputs and operates very smoothly. It can also be operated using the iDrive controller. I find the menus still take quite a bit of getting used to. I wouldn't try to do too much in the menus while driving unless you're familiar with the system, because it does require your attention to navigate through the menus. Most of the good stuff can be found in the car menu, and there is plenty to customize with this car. There's also a head-up display that can be adjusted for just the right height. When the car is put into sports mode, the display adds a rev indicator. You can control and see certain options, such as music, through a menu that shows up in the head-up display. The gauge cluster is a 12.3-inch display. Having seen the display in photos and video, I wasn't a big fan. The graphics looked too busy, and the information didn't seem very clear. Seeing the screen in person and driving with it, I came to somewhat like it. It's still very busy, and something about it just seems half thought out, but it's crisp and provides all the information you would need. It does look dynamic and changes depending on the drive mode you are in. I like how the art changes for the media that you're listening to. The steering wheel is very thick in typical BMW M fashion. It's probably one of the thickest steering wheels I have seen. The leather feels really nice and soft. The left side of the steering wheel has cruise control functions. On the right, you will find media and menu controls. Pressing and holding the talk button will allow you to speak with Siri through Apple CarPlay. It is wireless and doesn't require you to plug in your phone. Currently, Android Auto isn't available, but should be coming soon. Find the nearest restaurant. This car comes with the optional $1,400 premium package that adds heated steering, the head-up display, and heated front seats. On the left and right of the steering wheel are the paddle shifters. I'm glad BMW let go of their old turning signal stalks and have normal stalks that don't reset to neutral once they are pressed. There's also auto rain sensing wipers. To the left of the steering wheel, you will find the headlight controls and a space for storage. Moving down the center stack, you will find the hazards button next to a green lit button that allows you to quickly adjust the driver's aids. If you press and hold it, it will turn all the aids off, my preferred setting. Climate controls and radio presets and volume are all physical buttons. The Harman Kardon audio system is just okay to me. I really enjoy listening to music and I felt as though it was a bit flat. Even with the volume at 75%, it never quite kicked the way I like. In the lower part of the console, you will find the iDrive controls, the gear lever, and buttons for traction control, parking sensors, auto start stop, the engine start button, and the driving experience controls. The auto start stop system is pretty smart and even monitors the movement of cars in front of you to determine when the engine should start. Using the gear selector requires you to use the unlock button on the side of the lever. You'll also find the electronic parking brake. At first I thought this car came with wireless phone charging based on what looked like a wireless phone charging location. Instead, this location can be used for the digital key. Wireless charging is a $500 option and includes Wi-Fi hotspot. You'll also find cup holders, a USB port, and 12-volt connector in this compartment. There's a standard size sunroof, auto-dimming rearview mirror, and vanity mirrors. The seats are wrapped in soft stitched leather. Both driver and passenger get 14-way adjustable seats, which include power adjustments for the side bolsters and manual adjustment for thigh support. The seats are moderately supported for sporty driving. I didn't find myself sliding around, but leg support could be better for a performance-focused vehicle. Up front, there are 42 inches of legroom and 38.7 inches of headroom. In the rear, the materials are pretty much identical to those found in the front. The stitched leather is just as soft a touch, and this makes up for some of the hard plastics found on lower surfaces, and there are plenty of places for storage. The center armrest folds down and has 2 cup holders. Rear passengers are treated to climate control functions and connectivity ports. The outboard seats are also heated. In the rear, there's 35.2 inches of legroom and 37.6 inches of headroom. The interior really comes alive at night with an abundance of colorful lighting. In the car menu, you can choose between a number of color options for these lights. Not in the mood for lilac? Change it up with blue. Or perhaps green and white. One cool feature is when the doors are open, the lights flash red to bring more attention to the opened door. It's a nice touch. The rear is also treated to plenty of mood lighting at night. On the outside, the puddle lighting creates a cool pattern that illuminates the ground. The pattern illuminates nearly the entire length of the vehicle. Opening the power-operated trunk will give you access to 17 cubic feet of cargo space. There are some side pockets to secure smaller items. Using these levers will unhinge the rear seats and allow them to fold down for even more storage. The rear trunk also has power close. Now, for easily the best part about the M340i, the engine. Let's press the ignition button and start it up. The M340i comes with a 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 that produces 382 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. That's more torque than the M3 made just a couple of generations ago. And because BMW has the tendency to underrate their engines, it's safe to say this car makes close to 400 horsepower at the crank. There is some talk about software updates to bring the power down in later versions of this car, and BMW has been making it hard for tuners to program their ECUs for even more power. But one thing is for sure, This car is a rocket ship. BMW claims a 0 to 60 time of 4.1 seconds. With all-wheel drive and launch control, this car easily does that. Our hacked measurements revealed a time of 4 seconds 0 to 60. And I have no issue saying it can go faster than that. 3.7 seconds 0 to 60 should be within this car's reach. It pulls hard, sounds great, and the xDrive system makes sure there is no drama, just a constant surge of acceleration. This is the same engine that can be found in the 2021 Toyota Supra, and I don't fault Toyota for wanting to get their hands on it. It's easily the centerpiece of this car and will make you forget about any faults elsewhere. BMW and Mercedes have been putting M and AMG badging on just about every vehicle in their lineup, regardless of the trim. And it does water down the performance lineage those badges represent. But this car in a straight line is certainly worthy of having the M badge associated with it. It will body slam 60 miles per hour within 4 Mississippis all day long. And BMW's rear-biased all-wheel drive system combined with the M Sport differential means that unlike an M3 or an M4, that beatdown can happen even when conditions are less than ideal.
So today I'm going to do something a little bit different and just give you all a point of view look of driving the BMW M340i xDrive. And I should point out that this xDrive symbol, as well as the M340i symbol, they are extremely sharp. So if you own one of these and you're washing your car, yeah, you probably will end up nicking yourself. This X on the xDrive symbol is extremely sharp. I found that out earlier when I cut my finger washing the vehicle. But either way, automatically opens as you walk up to it, and we can hop in and go for a ride. Press the start button. And if anyone's curious, putting this into launch mode is fairly simple. I know some cars have very difficult routines that you have to go through in order to put them into launch mode, but this one's fairly simple. First thing you need to do is just press the traction control button once, and that will put it in dynamic traction. Pop the gear lever into manual sport, and then press the drive select and put that into sport. Once you've done that, you basically put your foot all the way down on the brake and smash the gas, and it's ready to go. Obviously I'm not going to do that now because I don't want to head into this van up here, but I figured I would let you all know how that works. And you know, it's interesting because for this to be an automatic, it actually has rev matching downshifts that it does, and it sounds really good. Yeah, you get a lot of speed warnings with this thing. It gets up to speed fairly quickly, and if you're not careful, you will get yourself into trouble. Strong brakes, good turn in. I mean, there is some body roll, and these tires aren't necessarily the best. And you know, you can feel the weight in this thing when you're turning, but it does inspire confidence. You never feel like you don't know what the chassis is doing or suspension doing. So the chassis is very planted, but you do get a feel for the weight. So it can feel a bit heavy, but still tons of grip. I mean, if it's pointed straight, it will go. And I'm not gonna do it on camera, but let's just say it will also get a little bit sideways. Very controlled, but it will go sideways if you encourage it to. And on this bumpy road, the suspension isn't overly harsh. It's not too bouncy, so the damping is pretty good, but it's certainly not a luxury feel. It's not plush, I'll put it that way. BMW does offer an adaptive suspension with this car. This one doesn't have it optioned, so maybe that could treat some of that, but overall, I mean, it's not bad. It still feels really good, but it's not extremely plush or extremely comfortable. Again, strong brakes. This thing is quick to react, and in this Sport Plus mode, you touch the throttle and it's ready to go. And the 8-speed automatic is really quick, and yeah, it's not a dual clutch. It's not gonna bang out shifts that quick, but you're not going to be shifting quicker than this if you have a manual transmission. This thing is very, very quick and very sensitive. When it's in the Sport Plus mode, it's very sensitive to any inputs that you give it, and it's ready to go as soon as you touch the throttle.
In conclusion, the BMW M340i makes a strong case for its throne. Unfortunately, without a direct comparison of other cars in this segment, I can't give an honest conclusion as to whether it earns it. The complaints I have are wanting a bit more sound in the interior, more direct steering, some funny design choices, and the digital cluster has too much going on. The highlight of this car is certainly the engine and the rear-biased xDrive. On its own, and at the end of the day removed from its competition, I can unequivocally say the M340i is an amazing car. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this review, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram.